So an 8 billion parameter music model just dropped. Open weights, runs on your GPU, no subscription, no download caps. Sounds like the dream. But here's what nobody's telling you. The file it spits out, not ready to release. Not even close. And this isn't a Minimax thing. Every AI music generator, hosted or local, Suno or anything else, leaves detectable artifacts in the audio. Spectral fingerprints baked into the frequency content. Structural tells like rigid timing and flat dynamics. There's a cleanup step between generation and distribution. It exists for all of them. Skipping that step is the single most common way people get a release bounced. We'll come back to the fix, but just know, going local doesn't make this go away. Right, the model itself. Minimax Music 3 generates complete songs up to 5 minutes long from 2 inputs, a structured caption and a set of lyrics. Not a loop, not a clip, a full track with intro, verse, chorus, bridge, outro. The architecture is actually interesting. It's hierarchical. An 8 billion parameter global model handles long-range musical structure, and a separate 600 million parameter model handles frame-level acoustic detail. That split is why it holds a theme together across 4 minutes instead of wandering after 90 seconds. Which is the failure mode most open models have had. Output is 32 kilohertz, 16-bit stereo, written straight out as an MP3. Hold that number. It comes back later. And the weights are published under the Minimax Music 3 community license. Read that before you build a business on it. Open weights doesn't mean unrestricted. Now here's the part that surprised me. Setup is genuinely 3 steps. Update ComfyUI, open the template library, pick the Minimax Music 3 workflow under Audio. That's it. ComfyUI natively supports the model, so there's no custom node hunt, no dependency archaeology. The ComfyUI-ready files, a repackaged diffusion model, the text encoder, the VAE, are hosted separately from the original weights, and the template pulls them for you. If you're on a smaller card, 2 levers. There's an INT8 version of the diffusion model, and the workflow exposes a tiled decode option. Runs the audio VAE in overlapping tiles to cut VRAM. Tiled decode is slightly slower and carries a small risk of seams at the boundaries. So turn it off if you've got the headroom. So here's where people get mediocre results and blame the model. The caption is not a vibe, it's a structured spec. And the documentation asks for 3 explicit sections. Global metadata, genre, BPM, key, emotional progression, production profile, vocal details, gender, timbre, performance style, harmonies, and arrangement, instruments, groove, bass, percussion, spatial effects. The more specific you are, the closer the output lands. Treat it like a brief, not a wish. The lyrics input uses section tags: intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, instrumental, solo, outro. And here's the rule that isn't obvious. The tags are the structural instructions. The lyric text conveys mood. Don't try to steer the arrangement with the words. Steer it with the tags. 2 more controls. Max duration defaults to 60 seconds, but the model goes up to about 300. And the seed does what you'd expect. If writing these captions sounds like work, Minimax publishes an official caption rewriter, plus a demo page with 26 example tracks across 11 genres, each one with its complete caption written out. That's the fastest way to learn the format. Now let's be honest about why people care. It's not primarily audio quality. It's that the hosted platforms have been tightening. Generation credits, monthly download limits, subscription tiers, terms that change under you. Running weights on your own machine sidesteps all of it. No cap on how many psalms you keep. No allowance. No account that can get restricted. But to be fair, hosted tools still win on convenience and model iteration speed. You're trading a polished web app for a ComfyUI graph and your own electricity bill. For a lot of developers, easy trade. For someone who just wants a song in 90 seconds, not so much. But here's the part almost every tutorial skips. You have a song. It is not ready to release. This is true of every generator, and it's the reason releases get bounced. Two separate problems, and they're worth keeping apart. First, technical. That 32 kilohertz 16-bit MP3 straight out of the VAE is a generation artifact, not a master. Release-grade audio is 44.1 kilohertz. Loudness is completely unmanaged coming out of any of these models. Nothing's been leveled. Nothing's been checked against what streaming platforms normalize to. Second, the fingerprint problem. This is the one that catches people. Generated audio carries model-specific patterns in the frequency content, spectral fingerprints that exist whether or not anybody deliberately stamped the file. On hosted platforms, there's usually more, a synth ID class watermark plus C2PA credentials. A local model like Minimax typically won't add those, but the fingerprints are inherent to generation. Going local doesn't make them disappear. And on top of both, generated audio has structural tells, timing that sits too rigid, dynamics too flat, a stereo field narrower than a human mix. Those are their own signature. So you've got 3 layers of detectability even from a local model that added 0 watermarks, which is why the cleanup step exists. Undetector is the tool built for exactly this gap, and it handles both problems, the artifacts and the mastering, in a single pass. 6 layers. 3 remove embedded markers, the synth ID class watermark, C2PA credentials, and those spectral fingerprints. 3 correct the structural tells, timing normalization, dynamic range reshaping, and stereo field correction. There's a mastering pass in the same run that lands the track around -14 LUFS, which is where the streaming platforms normalize to anyway. It runs in the browser, takes MP3, WAV, or FLAC, so a Minimax output drops straight in. And it's $39 one time, down from $99. Worth noting against a subscription, given the whole reason you're running locally is probably to stop paying monthly for something. The independent number worth knowing, from Artifactor.net, who publish their methodology and earn no commission on signups. 98 out of 100 files passed, 14 out of 14 generators handled. Around 90 seconds a file. Ranked first, with the next tool at 72 out of 100. That 14 out of 14 number is the point. Whatever you generated with, this isn't Suno specific. And on distribution, 50 out of 50 cleared DistroKid intake. 49 out of 50 passed Spotify direct ingestion. Hosted model, local model, doesn't matter. Same cleanup step. Now, 2 honest limits. First, nobody can promise a permanent guarantee here. Suno's newest watermark is still rolling out and is engineered to resist tampering. This is an arms race. Every tool involved is chasing a moving target. Anyone selling certainty is selling you something. Second, and this matters more than people realize, cleaning a file is not a disclosure. If your distributor asks whether the track was generated by AI, the honest answer is still yes. Processing the audio doesn't change that. DistroKid's own documentation draws the line at generation. Their AI as a tool exemption covers mixing and mastering. The mastering step is fine. The generation still gets declared. Answer honestly. A label on your track is a far better outcome than a false declaration on a distribution agreement. That's not a moral judgment. That's a practical one. So, worth your afternoon? If you have the GPU, yes. It's the strongest open weights music model to land so far. The ComfyUI integration is a genuine 3-click install, and the structured caption format gives you way more control than a prompt box. Just build the last step into your workflow from day one. Generate, clean, and master. Declare honestly. Then, distribute. Everyone gets the first step right. It's the third and fourth that decide whether the release actually goes out. Links to the ComfyUI workflow, the model weights, and the cleanup tool are all below. Subscribe if you want the next one of these.